3, 2, 1, go!
Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, it is KingNido here and we are in Jubilife City where today the Venom are going to try and get back into the Masters 8 whereas the Sirchester Frost are just trying to get their season back on track. As the Frost start out with Mamoswine and Avalugg, it is Toxapex and Tentacruel starting out for the Jubilife Venom, and immediately Tentacruel goes for a super effective low kick on the massive Avalugg. Avalugg can tank a super effective hit quite well, as that Nightshade from Mamoswine is a really good hit there on Toxapex, as Toxapex with the roar will send the heavily defensive Avalugg back to the bench, and out in its place comes Cryogonal, who is now the quickest Pokemon on the field being dragged out, and immediately goes for an Acupressure, so it is going to give itself a good defense boost there, being able to take some physical hits. But Tentacruel with a stab Hydro Pump onto Mamoswine, and it is a one-hit wonder. Super effective critical hit. Mamoswine is eliminated already from this matchup, and Toxapex is going to go for a super effective Amber on Cryogonal there. It's not going to do much damage, even though it's super effective. Toxapex is more defensive. As Avalugg comes back onto the field and Cryogonal buries its way underground, it is going to go for a dig, and it's able to avoid the confusion there from Tentacruel as Toxapex goes for the Giga Drain onto Avalugg. That is a good hit there, as Avalugg is not as specially defensive as it is physically defensive. Toxapex is able to restore some health, but Avalugg also going for the soft build. It is going to restore the health that it just lost. Doesn't quite get itself back to full strength, but almost does, as Cryogonal does perform that dig, connecting with Tentacruel. A super effective hit there on the water poison type as Tentacruel responds, laying the smackdown onto Avalugg, tanking that super effective hit because it was a physical move. But Toxapex going for the Burning Jealousy, hits both Avalugg and Cryogonal. It's super effective on both ice type Pokemon, and Avalugg is going to respond with a Frost Breath now onto Tentacruel. Good hit there, not very effective though, but did get the critical hit to give it that little bit of an extra boost, as Cryogonal with the mean look onto Tentacruel, so it can no longer escape from this matchup. Tentacruel responds though with a Fire Punch onto Cryogonal. Thankfully for Cryogonal, it did give itself that defense boost earlier, as Toxapex with the Moonlight now is going to get itself back to full strength. This will allow Avalugg though to go for a smackdown of its own onto Toxapex. A good hit, practically taking it back to where it was with a critical hit there. Avalugg getting 2 critical hits in a row. Shadow Sneak from Cryogonal, not doing much damage to Toxapex whatsoever, but Tentacruel with the gravity is going to bring Cryogonal down to the ground because it does have that levitate ability, and Toxapex going with the beat up onto Avalugg. It will connect 6 times. It's doing such little damage though, as this move hits for every Pokemon still remaining on the side. Again, Avalugg so defensive with that 184 base defense stat. It is massive. And Avalugg with the Circle Throw is going to hit Toxapex and send it back to the bench. Toxapex also with that 152 base defense, so it is just as impressive. But it's Nidoking being dragged out onto the field. The ground poison type, as an infestation from Cryogonal does very little damage to Tentacruel, but is now being afflicted with that infestation, so it will continue to take the damage. But before that, Snipe Shot from Tentacruel eliminates Avalugg from this matchup. Tentacruel getting the first 2 eliminations, fantastic for the Venom, and a Crab Hammer from Nidoking almost gets the job done on Cryogonal. Again, good thing Cryogonal boosted its defenses earlier, as Lapras now comes out for the Sirchester Frost, and Cryogonal sets up an Aqua Ring. This is a really good play here if it can get through this turn, because it will restore its health. But before that, Tentacruel with the Forest Curse will add that Grass typing to Cryogonal, making it quad weak to Fire type moves. But Nidoking with the Grass Pledge will actually get the elimination, even with that not very effective move. Thankfully it gets the critical hit. Cryogonal is taken out, and there's 3 Pokemon in a row taken out from the Sirchester Frost, as Lapras with the Shadow Claw onto Tentacruel finally gets the elimination for the Ice types. The Venom losing their first Pokemon, as it is now a 5v3 battle on the side of the Venom, as Warring comes out for the Frost and Toxapex comes back onto the field for the Venom. That Bubble Beam though from Nidoking isn't very effective on Lapras, as the Heal Bell, the bell does chime, but it fails from Warring. Lapras though with the Floral Healing is actually going to restore the health there of Toxapex. Again, it gets back to full strength. Toxapex keeps having its health restored, and with those defenses, you do not want to make it harder to take it out, as a Brave Bird from Toxapex onto Lapras, clearly showing its gratitude. Good hit there on Lapras, by the way, as Nidoking now with the Defog and it is going to lower that evasiveness of Warren, making it an easier target to hit as Warren responds with the Retaliate. It retaliates with the Retaliate onto Nidoking. Nidoking actually tanks that hit quite well, and Lapras with the Oblivion Wing is going to be able to restore some health with this move, taking it off of Toxapex, trying to take away from Toxapex what it gave it earlier with that Floral Healing. And now Toxapex though is going to respond with the Icicle Crash. This isn't going to be very effective on either of the Water Ice type Pokemon, but it does connect with Lapras. Again, not very effective as the gravity does return to normal, and Nidoking going for the Psyshock onto Lapras. They're clearly trying to chip away from the Cantonian Pokemon. Lapras taking that damage, but Warren now with the Power Gem onto Toxapex. A good hit there on the Poison Water type, and now Lapras with the Astonish onto Nidoking. That everybody's keeping up their offensive at the moment, but Toxapex going with the Dragon Rush, coming down hard onto Warren, who tanks that hit. Warren, such a bulky Pokemon. Now a Leech Seed being performed by Nidoking, seeding Lapras there, so it will be restoring health, but first Warren with the Low Kick, not very effective on Toxapex, and Lapras follows it up with a not very effective Bug Buzz onto Toxapex. Toxapex, having taken so many hits throughout this matchup, now goes for the Terrain Pulse onto Lapras. Very little damage there, but here is that Leech Seed coming into effect. Lapras will lose some of its health, and it will go to Nidoking. This is a good long play here by the Poison Pin Pokemon, as the Nidoking with the multi-hit move, Bone Rush, going for Warren. That's a good first hit. If it can get all 5, this will be fantastic for the Venom. It's got 2, it's got 3. Can it get 2 more? It's got 4, only 1 more to go. And it looks like it's going to get it. It is a 5-time connection with that Bone Rush. Warren is an easy target now, but before that happens, it goes for a Fire Blast onto Nidoking. And actually really good hit there as Lapras following it up with the Acid Armor. It is going to boost its defense a great deal there, as Toxapex now with the Supersonic is going to leave Warren confused. It will need to try and shake that off, otherwise it will do damage to itself, as that Leech Seed continues taking energy from Lapras and giving it to Nidoking. The Jubilee Venom are in full control at the moment, as both Ice Water type Pokemon are easy targets, and Nidoking now with the Dragon Breath onto Warren gets the elimination. Warren is taken out of this matchup, and there are now only 2 Pokemon, but now Lapras is going to go for a super effective Psychic Fangs onto Nidoking, and Nidoking is eliminated. That is exactly what Lapras needed to do. Nidoking is taken out, but Toxapex goes for the Fusion Flare. It's going to complete a huge play on this turn. Lapras is eliminated. There is only 1 Pokemon remaining for the Searchester Frost. There's still 4 remaining as Toxicroak comes out for the Venom, and Darmanitan comes out for the Frost and immediately goes for the Scorching Sands. This will be super effective on Toxicroak, as Toxicroak does get the chance to respond and goes for the Bind. This is actually a really good play, because this Bind will continue to chip away at Darmanitan. Regardless of what happens, that Poison Gas is avoided by Darmanitan from Toxapex, however, as that Bind does continue to do that damage. Darmanitan, however, does go for the Minimize. It is going to give itself an evasiveness boost, which is fantastic, because if it is harder to hit, you can't eliminate it, but Toxicroak will connect with the Gyro Ball. Super effective, but Darmanitan actually tanks it quite well. Toxapex going for the Rain Dance. It will set that rain falling from the sky. It is not Acid Rain, however, so do not be confused. No one will be taking damage from this rain on the field, as Darmanitan continues to be afflicted by that Bind. It does go for the conversion now. It's going to change its Ice typing. It is going to become a normal type Pokemon. It will still be weak to fighting type attacks, and here is the Flying Press from Toxicroak. It gets the job done with that super effective hit. Darmanitan is eliminated, and the Jubilee Venom have dominated this matchup from the very start. This is a fantastic victory for them. This will move them all the way up to 6th place in the Masters 8. That is fantastic. Unfortunately for the Searchester Frost, they will stay in 14th place, getting their 3rd loss in a row, and their next matchup will be against the Olivine, which is such a huge task, whereas the Jubilee Venom will be facing the Pheromone Mines next round. But before that happens, the Pheromone Mines will have to contend with the Pony Canyon Fissure, as the Fissure try and get back into the Elite Four. The Pheromone Mines just want to get back into the Masters 8. But until then, Nidorinas and Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below who you thought was the best on field. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, you are awesome, and I'll see you when you see me.